Good news, everyone! Talking Futurama is coming back for Talking Futurama Season 2, Part 2.
Fresher than a summer ham, this podcast comes every Friday. And if you sign up at the $5 level at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons, you can hear each episode as it goes live.
That's right. Sign up today at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons for $5 to hear Talking Futurama every Friday throughout the rest of 2020 and also all the previous episodes we've done so far.
So head over to patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons now, or we're going to clamp you.
Shut up and take my money.
I heartily endorse this event or product.
Ahoy hoy everybody, welcome to Talking Simpsons, where the oafs are always the first to go. I'm your host, alcoholic night swimmer Bob Mackey, and this is our chronological exploration of The Simpsons. Who else is here with me today as always?
Hey, it's Henry Gilbert, and these podcasts take us away from the harsh realities of peasant life.
It's true. And who do we have on the line?
Friend and horny, I'm Merritt K.
And today's episode is Treehouse of Horror 11.
Stupid horoscope. Stupid Flora Pope.
Today's episode aired on November 1st, 2000, just in time for Halloween. And as always, Henry will tell us what happened on this mythical day in real world history.
Oh my God!
Oh boy, Bobby, eerie timing for the day that we're recording this, because a handful of lucky Americans are getting their hands on a PlayStation 2
Ooh.
the same time that this
Wow.
comes out. As well as playing, I guess, Fantavision or Dynasty Warriors.
SSX was the only thing to play in the year 2000.
And of course, this week in the year 2000, we're just 1 week away from the presidential election of Bush versus Gore. So an exciting week for The Simpsons. And also, this is I think we'll get into it a little bit, but this is a Wednesday date I am talking about, not a Sunday date.
I forgot that it aired at an odd time. That's
Yes,
right.
yeah. There's a lot about Simpsons scheduling history for this year's Halloween horror, but Treehouse of Horror. But the PlayStation 2. I didn't even have one friend who got it in the year 2000. Like,
Really?
They were so unavailable.
Okay.
And, I think we were all just like, well, okay, we were a Dreamcast house as well. So I think we're
Losers.
Like, if we couldn't just walk into a store and buy a PlayStation 2, we're like, who needs that? We've got Phantasy Star Online. Okay.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
I got one because I got like the last reservation at a Funko Land, the worst named store in history, in
R.I.P.
June. R.I.P. Yes, it was part of the giant the multi-tentacled beast of GameStop and Funko Land and EB Games and all the things they absorbed. But yeah, that was fun. Perhaps if you didn't get a PS2, you might have been playing Majora's Mask, which came out that same week.
Sorry.
So that was
Oh yeah, that's what I was doing.
Ooh, it's a great game. Counter programming, better than anything on the PS2 that launch.
No, that was such a great, weirdo game. I think, folks, I don't think people didn't like Majora's Mask.
Oh, they hated
out,
it.
Okay.
Everybody I talked to, as someone who loved the game, they're like, I hate that timer. That game sucks.
People hated the timer. And going back now, I will say it is a little weird. It's kind of finicky. There's a lot of stuff you have to get used to. But if you dig deep in there, you're gonna find some great stuff. All the masks, that moon, really spooky,
Yeah.
really scary. That game actually scared me a lot, much like Treehouse of Horror episodes did when I was a kid.
And, they made a Zelda game in 18 months.
Yes,
what do you want
yeah.
from them?
That's true.
And the 3DS one is very good, except for a few things they kind of broke, but that is the preferred way to play the game. And break it, too, I guess. Snap it over your finger.
When are they going to dump both of those, the Ocarina 3D and the Majora 3D, just onto the Switch? Just be like, there, you can have it.
When they do the Zelda All-Stars 3D collection
Yeah, available for 3 weeks in the fiscal year of 2023.
for $60.
It'll cost $60. They'll both look like shit. They'll have a music player that only works when you turn on your Switch and open the game. It's great.
Yep.
But hey, welcome back to Merritt.
Thank you. It's so good. Is this what, number 3 or 4?
I think it's 4.
I think it's 4, yeah.
Wow, the big 4. Oh.
Yeah, because you did the Rodney Dangerfield episode.
The Rodney Dangerfield episode, that's right.
You did Natural Born Kissers, and you did the Jacques episode from season 1. So
You will get your pocket watch in the mail. We usually hand them out in person.
and yeah, what's going on with you these days, Merritt? Everything fun at Fanbytes?
Oh, yeah. I'm over at fanbyte.com. Doing a lot of podcasts these days. Just doing a lot of podcasts. I started a new show called The K-Hole.
Ooh.
And that's kind of a weird interview show where I have people on and we sort of just start talking and see what happens. And yeah, I think the 3rd episode will be out by the time this episode is out. And it's a lot of fun. And if you go to podcastnet.work, which is a weird URL, but podcastnet.work, that's where all of our shows are. But yeah, I think this is the first time that I watched a Simpsons episode since the last time I was on the show.
Oh, wow. Even in this 2020 times, you didn't
I know.
you didn't turn to The Simpsons for comfort?
Just turn on the tap, the Simpsons tap. Yeah, this I think I say this every year for the past 4 years, but I think this is my favorite Scully era Halloween one. It's the filthiest and the most violent, and references to glory holes and sugar walls and
the sugar walls reference just came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, and there was no cum jokes as far as I could tell, so they missed one of the one of the targets there.
Well, yeah, I guess I think we all were watching this when it aired live, perhaps. I know I was.
I was, yeah.
I was not, shockingly. I was actually in Berkeley, one of my first trips to California, visiting a friend out here. That was before I lived here, of course. And I didn't watch the episode, but of course, after it aired, I used my friend's computer to look up Alt TV Simpsons, see what they were talking about. And people were shocked at the level of filth this episode stooped to.
I think this is as far as they go filth. I think the 13 one is the 12th Treehouse. I think pulls it back a little bit. I think, though, I remembered enjoying this at the time, but also I do think the scatologicalness, maybe I was like, boy, these are getting violenter and violenter every year. These Treehouses.
The gruesome deaths that like Tress MacNeille's characters suffer in the middle of this episode, just the brutal screaming, bloody murder.
Oh my God, yeah.
Tress really earned her paycheck this week on The Simpsons.
But we have a bunch of new writers on this episode, and so I don't bog down the front of the show with all their bios. We're going to focus on Rob Lazebnik first, and then when we get to Insane Clown Posse, we're going to talk about John Frank and Don Payne, who are writing partners, or they were at the time. So I want to talk about Rob Lazebnik first, and would you believe, this is going to be a big shocker, he went to Harvard in the mid-'80s, and yes, he wrote for the Harvard Lampoon.
Whoa.
What?
Where did they find this guy?
Yeah, he came in the back door on this job.
And
That's such a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Slightly less shocking is that he started on HBO's Not Necessarily the News, which is where a ton of Simpsons writers came from, like Ian Maxtone Graham, Al Jean, Mike Reese, Conan O'Brien, Greg Daniels, and George Meyer. They all wrote for this, so they knew this guy.
Wow. I need to watch that show just for Simpsons knowledge aptitude.
One of his first sitcom gigs was a very traditional show, but I enjoyed it as a kid. It was Empty Nest, and he wrote 13 episodes between 1988 and 1993. A Golden Girls sister show, not quite as classy as Golden Girls, but it was of the same old people Miami vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like that show, and I remember it had, I forget the actor's name, but he was the Susan Harris favorite because he had been Bert on Soap as well.
David Leisure or the old guy?
The old guy. Okay. The old guy on the show. Because he was on Soap, and I love Soap. Empty Nest, I didn't watch so much, but
he was great on Soap.
Yeah, but it was it was a great combo show with Golden Girls.
You're thinking of Richard Mulligan.
Thank you, Richard Mulligan. Thank you.
So before writing for The Simpsons, he created Rob Lazebnik. He created 2 TV shows that no one has ever heard of. So he created one of the original WB shows called Muscle, which was a parody of primetime soap operas like Melrose Place, but it took place at a gym.
Wow.
So there you have it. That was his first sitcom he created.
I have never heard of that show, and I was paying attention to the launch of the WB and every garbage show they had, but wow.
God, you could really just write anything in that era.
It sounded like they were buying...
I'm jealous sometimes.
Me too. Like, it was a golden age of sitcoms. People were buying every sitcom because it was, the promise of a syndicated show once you hit 100 was just a payday. and everyone was reaching for that. But yeah, that was like the soft launch of the WB, like in the spring of 95. I think the fall of 95 was their big proper debut. But he created another sitcom in 1996 for ABC called Common Law, a vehicle for the late Greg Giraldo. And he was a Latino lawyer at a mostly white law firm. 9 episodes were produced, but only 4 aired. So there you go.
Boy, man. I can see after those two things why Lazebnik went into like staffing up on sitcoms instead of after the two. I mean, honestly, that he got to create 2 shows is pretty shocking.
Yeah, really. Greg Daniels and Mike Scully are the only people to create shows that lasted on outside of The Simpsons.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. I know.
Oh, Conan O'Brien.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, I know that's what Sam Simon like crapped all over the right. He's like, nobody else from The Simpsons created stuff. It's like I don't think that's true, but. No, I mean, it's hard out there to create a TV show.
So I'm not sure what Rob's status on the show was back in this day. So he was a co-executive producer since 1999. He wrote 2 episodes in 2000. He wrote a segment of this one and also the Prank Monkey episode.
Oh, God.
I forget what that one's called, but we're going to get to it soon.
Dignity.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then, he's been on the show since 99, but in the early 2000s, he was also working on other stuff like Ellen's second sitcom and also Less Than Perfect. So, 2 ABC shows. So I assume he still had an ABC deal he needed to get through while working on The Simpsons.
That sounds about right. A Disney deal he had to work through while still there.
And we're going to wrap this up real quick, though. But he's been working on the show since 1999. His last episode was Frink Coin, which aired in February of 2020.
Crypto episode.
Exactly.
Yes,
17 episodes to date. And he is one of 5 founders of the very short-lived Icebox.com.
Oh, God. Icebox.com. Wow.
And that is why there's an episode based around web cartoons.
Of course.
And that bubble bursting in 2001 or 2002.
God. Wow.
He got them the critic deal then, I guess, because he knew Gene and Reese. There were 2 other things I did learn about Lazebnik. One is that he is brother-in-law of Nell Scoville, who we interviewed.
God, it's even more incestuous than I thought.
Her Nell Scoville's sister, Claire Scoville Lazebnik, is a novelist in her own right, and so that's that connection. And also, I found out that Lazebnik wrote the 2016 episode where Smithers came out to Burns.
Oh, okay.
And so Smithers is no longer in the closet. In case you're not still watching The Simpsons,
did not know about that.
And Lazebnik said he was inspired by his own son coming out to him, and he said that he ran jokes by his 21-year-old gay son. Including hey, is this what Tinder is? Or sorry, is this what Grindr is? And his son was like, yes.
That's kind of cute.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, it's nice, that he was honoring his gay son, that he loves his gay son, as the wonderful saying goes.
It's just good to see a 60-year-old Harvard graduate get work these days.
I know,
in this economy.
It's so hard. He's. Hey, he's a real Simpsons lifer. I'll just be nice to him in this one because I do think he wrote a good episode or a good segment on here. I will not be so nice on Homer versus Dignity, I don't think. But another bit of news on this episode was when it aired, because you've noted this before, Bob. This is the first of many Treehouses to not air in October
for about a decade. Yeah, they would always air after.
Right, that's so weird.
And because of baseball, correct?
It is almost always because of baseball, though, and it is for this one too. But I did a little extra digging to really figure out why it happened. So the World Series that year, as just happened in the year 2020, the World Series also pushed the Halloween special into November. That was going to happen in October of 2000, but the Yankees actually just swept the series and won in 4 games. So had they not, there would have been a game on Sunday, the last Sunday of October, but there wasn't. So game 4 ended on Thursday. Now you think, okay, then they're going to run the Halloween special on the Sunday. They've got the time. But for some reason they didn't. It was all reruns. It was last year's Treehouse that aired on that Sunday, and also Halloween. They aired that as well.
Okay.
Then I'm like, well, wait. Then it aired the next Sunday? No. The Tale of Two Springfields aired the next Sunday. This aired on Wednesday, November 1st. And I was like, why the hell did that happen? And it was because they wanted to give a push to a big premiering show that was coming on their channel for the year 2000, though wouldn't help it out in the end. It was Normal, Ohio, the John Goodman starring show where he plays Butch, a gay man moving back in with his family, which was created by or co-created by Bob Cushell, a writer on The Simpsons who had a bad time.
The fired man.
The fired Bob Cushell.
Who went on to great success.
Merritt, I don't know if you remember that Normal Ohio show. I only watched the first
not
episode.
At all.
I will say, as I guess, I don't like the bear classification, but I guess I would say I'm that in the gay community. But I at least like that John Goodman in the year 2000, there's all types of discourse about straight people playing gay roles. But I did like seeing at the time that, a non-traditional looking man playing a gay role and being about, hey, gay people aren't just this one type of stereotype. They're another stereotype.
I think most of the American public at that time thought, like, could you imagine?
Yes,
that was the premise for them.
Right,
like, John, could you think about it even for a second? They didn't take it like that, unfortunately.
That, I think, is the 1-2 punch of it, is that the World Series, they were prepared for a World Series delay on Sunday anyway, and then they're like, you know what, let's just put it with the new John Goodman show, and maybe it'll boost its leading ratings as a lead-in. But Normal Ohio did not last very long. But and I guess last production note I have on this is that technically this is still a season 11 production. So in season 11, they produced 2 Halloween episodes. They did the first episode of production, season 11, was the 10th Halloween special, and one of the last ones, I think the last one, is this Halloween special. So an interesting, it usually was that the Treehouses came at the start of a production run, but I think this started the new trend that it was one of the last things you do and it's a holdover to the next season, as happened in 2020 as well, with the episode written by our good buddy Julia Prescott.
Just because they take so much longer to produce with everything going on in them. They're very dense.
Right.
And this is our first one of season 12. Crack back open those season 12 DVDs. I think I had not watched my season 12 DVDs in a long time. I think they've got really great menus. Like the Comic-Con style of it is really good. And I guess actually it made me nostalgic for 2009 when it came out.
It's funny, the commentary for this episode was recorded the day Barack Obama was elected president. The first time.
It's nuts.
Wow.
Listening to that commentary as they're joking about like Obama's in charge and Prop 8 passed, I'm like, how times have not changed as I'm listening to this commentary in a celebratory mood of Trump being defeated, but also Prop 22 passing in California. So bad propositions all around in the state of California. It was I'm not used to being nostalgic on listening to those commentaries now.
The Simpsons will be right back.
Fox Wednesday. Halloween's not over till the Simpsons say it is.
I know you rescue us.
Rescue you, stuff myself with candy. It's all good. An all-new Simpsons Halloween special on a special night. Then John Goodman returns to television.
I'm not laughing.
How about now?
On the series premiere of Normal, Ohio. It all begins at 8/7 Central, Fox Wednesday.
Talk, man. Hey, sorry. Gotta clear my throat there. It's Henry. Welcome to the break. Big thank you to our guest this week, Merritt. We love having her on. She is a very fun guest, and you should check out all the cool stuff she is doing at FanBite. As well, if you're a fan of what me and Bob do, first off, do you know that this isn't the only podcast we do? We also every week do the What a Cartoon podcast, where we talk about an animated series in the same way we talk about The Simpsons. And both of those podcasts are brought to you by our wonderful subscribers at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons. For $5 a month, those people help me and Bob do this as our full-time jobs, and they get a ton of bonuses as well. Many exclusive Patreon podcasts, like me and Bob talking about Futurama, King of the Hill, The Critic, Mission Hill, all in the same Talking Simpsons style, and just launching now in this year. First off, in January, we are launching once a month. We're doing the Talking Futurama podcast, and we're still going to be doing our twice a year limited weekly miniseries, which, starting in March, is going to be Talking of the Hill Season 2, Part 1. So much you can look forward to at the $5 level at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. So please sign up today and support us. And if you're looking for a combination as good as alcohol and night swimming, consider $10 a month and What a Cartoon Movie podcast, that combination for you. For just $10 a month, you get all of the stuff I just talked about for $5. Then you get our monthly What a Cartoon Movie podcast, where we cover an animated feature film in the same in-depth style that we touch on The Simpsons and What a Cartoon. Recent films have included this month the Dexter's Lab movie Ego Trip. The previous month, for 5 hours, our record-long podcast, we talk about the end of Evangelion, and a giant back catalog, over 100 hours of exclusive podcasts waiting there for you at the $10 level, in addition to all the $5 stuff at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. Please consider signing up today. It really helps me and Bob out. But I guess, why don't we get started with the opening of the show is a Munsters parody, like shot for shot, exactly the Munsters thing.
The better Munsters opening. There are only
Yes.
2 seasons of the Munsters. This is the second season opening, a parody of it, rather. And I'm really sad because I just rewatched the Addams Family movie over Halloween. We're in November now. And I really feel like the Munsters missed its chance to have a movie. Like, the Munsters was brought back more on television. Because I think it was like a higher concept idea, but it never got a proper, like, ironic remake like the Addams Family did.
I always hated the Munsters. I don't know why. I think it would air in the mornings before I would go to school. And I think even then I was like, I just wish I was watching the Addams Family. Like, I hate this. Who are these people? They just, like, why does a Frankenstein and a Dracula make a Wolfman child? How does that work?
Yeah.
The Addams Family was the better show, and like the centerpiece of the show was the joke, what if a husband loved his wife and was sexually attracted to her?
No, it was like, what if like there was just like a good heterosexual couple who were good parents and still really like into each other.
They're freaks.
And yeah, they're freaks, but like it's so good. And I mean, Addams Family, the TV show, the older one had what's his name as Gomez, John
Astin,
John Astin, who was great. Very different kind of portrayal of the role than Raul Julia later on. Also good.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like both the Munsters and the Addams Family had like 70 episodes each, and that's it.
Yeah.
And premiered the same year. I had always thought one was a response to the other, but they premiered at the same time. But
it was just in the zeitgeist at the time.
When I was trying to deconstruct why I like the Addams Family more than the Munsters too, I think it is that the Addams Family they're not monsters, they're just weirdos. They're like they're not classifiable. They're just strange things. While meanwhile and also they love being outside society and just being strangers.
Yeah.
The Munsters, they want to be part of society, especially their Goody Two Shoes daughter.
They're conformists.
Yeah, exactly. They're monsters who want to conform instead of enjoying being weirdos.
But like both have good theme songs. I think the Munsters one is the better one. This like weird like Dick Dale surf rock song.
Sure.
Which was later used, I think, in a Fall Out Boy.
Yes.
Song, like,
do you
like
really?
5 or 6 years ago?
Do you know this, Henry?
I did not know
Okay,
this,
I'm going to send you a clip because I was sitting around in a bar probably in 2015. I'm just like, I don't know, staring at a TV, waiting for time to pass by. And I hear like, is that the Munsters theme? And I pull out my phone. I'm like, did someone sample? You can't sample the Munsters theme. It's too iconic. People will just think of a Frankenstein father. But no, Fall Out Boy sampled it for the song Uma Thurman.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And I sent a clip for Henry to play. Henry, you don't know what the kids are listening to or were 5 years ago.
Yeah. The hell?
Yeah.
Very
Okay, that's good.
All right, that's
So,
enough.
like, I was sitting in the bar, and I was just like, oh, this pop song is starting, whatever. Then the Munsters theme pops in. I'm like, I just was knocked out of my chair. I couldn't believe it.
I am in shock that song exists. I also didn't know. I guess I should have known Fall Out Boy was writing the same type of music everyone else does now. I'm just like, well, good times. But jeez.
Yeah, like
High hopes, etc.
to be fair, that riff owns.
Oh, yeah,
but it
yeah.
belongs to the Munsters, and you can't
Yeah.
reappropriate that. I'm sorry.
I also, it's funny that The Simpsons parody the Munsters shot for shot because the original Munsters opening was a shot for shot parody of the Donna Reed show opening.
Okay, yeah, that's I was thinking, like, I watched the first opening and it was just so odd because
Yeah.
it just not Morticia but Lily greeting people as they leave the house.
Yeah, yeah.
And Grandpa almost kills her.
And you end with the dad instead of starting with him because that's how it was in the Donna Reed show. But yeah, it's the first opening's not as funny, especially if you don't have the Donna Reed show memorized, which who does? But yeah, this Simpsons opening, I especially like the little touches how like Homer is like, oh no, and then just shakes his head like, never mind, and then wobbles his head just like the Frankenstein man did in Munsters. I don't want to know their names.
Fred Gwynn. He was in My Cousin Vinny as the judge.
Oh sure, yes. And
Oh my God, he was. I just rewatched that movie like a week ago. What a great character actor.
And also the most main man who ever existed in Pet Sematary.
Sometimes dad is better. See, why didn't the Frankenstein father just crush that zombie child?
Yeah.
With his giant hands.
Well, the Achilles tendon will take out even a Frankenstein man as well if you go for that. That scene, that was one of like the grossest scenes ever. But,
Okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
Fred Gwynn went to Harvard on the GI Bill, where he was affiliated with the Adams House.
Well, how do you like that? And he's another Harvard crony. All these Harvard guys. I guess
So its name commemorates the services of the Adams family.
not the actual Adams.
No,
the
not the
cartoonist.
actual
No, I
Adams.
don't. Well, also, I guess
The
if
presidents.
a rule on this Talking Simpsons too is if we mention the Munsters, we have to mention that Al Lewis was a proud socialist as well. So good old Grandpa.
Was he the
Al.
grandpa?
Yes.
Oh, good for him.
And
and a greeter at his own restaurant of his own name.
that's right. Just living on the front. Just and
He was in Gremlins too, but it's just a guy who kind of looks like him.
I forget that I wouldn't have been surprised if he was in Gremlins 2, but everybody was. And then I like I do like that the parody ends with everyone being killed by the town, and that when you see the corpses of everybody, it is accurate how you kill those monsters because Grandpa and Marge have stakes in their hearts because they're vampires. Homer's on fire because Frankensteins hate fire. Frankenstein monsters hate fire. And there's a bear trap on Bart, which I guess really he should have been shot with a silver bullet.
Yeah,
but,
that's
you
just
know.
hard to convey. But Butch Patrick was just on the show, so
That's right, yeah, in the same production season. And also that, like, Lisa remained untouched, which, it's not to say they never killed Lisa on the show, but I feel like in Treehouses, she was the last to get killed and stuff. Which, really, if you watch the most recent Treehouse, it's interesting because it's the complete opposite. They do a Happy Death Day parody with Lisa in the lead. So you watch Lisa die a bunch of times, and it's kind of disturbing. And I also like she comes out holding a copyright law book. That's funny too. So we begin our first one with Ghost Dad, which obviously is a parody about a movie starring some guy in it.
it's a parody of that movie, but also for the first 90 seconds, it's a parody of Final Destination.
Yeah, I wonder how that it came. Okay, Final Destination came out 6 months before this movie, this episode came out. I wonder if it's a coincidence or not. It does. It definitely feels like Final Destination for sure. But yes, the episode begins with Homer reading his horoscope.
Hey, who cut out Beetle Bailey? I need my Miss Buxley fix.
I don't like you ogling her. Why don't you read Kathy? She's hilarious.
Too much baggage. Ooh, my horoscope. Taurus, today you will die.
What?
And you may get a compliment from an attractive coworker. Lenny?
Really says die? That sounds unusually specific for a horoscope.
Maybe I better check mine. Today your husband will die. Homer, I'm scared.
Ooh, scary newspaper. Don't hurt me, horoscope. I'm afraid. Ow! Oh, paper cut! Paper cut!
That wrist paper cut is horrifying.
So just typing Miss Buxley into Google image search, the third result is a naked drawing of her drawn by Mort Walker. This is very easy to find. Apparently he made a print of her. So she's not just naked, she's also giant.
Wow.
And all of the male characters are crawling all over her, and Beetle Bailey is headed towards her private area with a ladder.
Whoa.
He's like, I'm climbing in.
Yeah, I'm looking at this right now, and this is
Holy.
from an auction site, apparently.
Man, Mort Walker was ahead of the curve of like, that's what online comic strip artists do now. They're all like, I'll draw any character naked. Just you don't even have to ask me. I'll just do it. But like the Mort Walker was like, all right, finally I can sell some of these sexy drawings I've done in Miss Buxley for decades. Mort Walker was one of the hornier artists on the comic strip page in the last 50 years for sure. And Miss Buxley was his blonde bombshell of a character who, get this, she was a sexy secretary of an old man.
It's of the I'm stupping my secretary jokes era, and you'd have to use the word stupping.
Yeah.
You couldn't use any other word.
I love comic strips like this where like all the guys are drawn like fucking gremlin monsters with like no eyeballs and huge noses, and then like you can tell like the women are drawn like they're a different fucking species.
Yes.
It's like every comic strip like this is the exact same way. Like, I don't know, High and Lois, or like, well, I can't think of any of them because they're all pretty terrible.
Hagar, every man's a
Hagar.
monster. Yeah. I would have loved to have seen the challenge for Mort Walker to be like, Mort, here's $1,000. Draw a sexy man. Just give it a shot. I don't think he could, but like I love that Homer he's like the millions of men who were reading Beetle Bailey just to see like occasional strip where Miss Buxley like bent over or something.
Showed a bit of thigh.
Yeah. Again, people are very horny for Miss Buxley.
He did High and Lois as well. I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, he occasionally I think he'd do a little bit of horniness with Lois as well. I'll admit I read the Mort Walker, like a Mort Walker book growing up as a kid as in the library.
And he, as the creator of High and Lois, makes comic book guy laugh.
That's right.
Important fact about him.
I like that Homer rebuffs the suggestion of reading Kathy because it doesn't make him horny enough. He needs
too much baggage.
Yeah, and Homer, looking at his horoscope, says he's a Taurus. That does fit with the Homer driver's license that we saw in Duffless. It showed that in that his birthday was May 12th, so that would fit with being a Taurus.
Just like me.
Oh wow!
But not May 12th, May 7th.
You're close. You're close to birthday twins.
I don't know astrology, so I don't know what that means.
And also I like that Homer doesn't care that he's told he's going to die, but is excited that Lenny might compliment him. I like that Homer kind of is into Lenny and is waiting for Lenny to throw something back at him.
Lenny is becoming
everyone's into Lenny. Yeah,
it's true. Lenny has become like a breakout character in the past 2 seasons. We're finding so many new angles of Lenny.
Yeah, I note later in this episode to have a funny joke with Lenny, they actually screw up their Lenny Carl combo for jokes later, so they have to. But in this one, then it's just a series of jokes of Homer almost killing himself, a paper cut on his wrist. Like, there's worse gross stuff in this episode, but that's the one that gives me the shivers. Then they have a joke about Planet Hollywood being torn down, which I feel like is another of their like bashing the guys at Planet Hollywood for the people who run it tricked the Simpsons into writing a spec script because they're like, oh, we'll definitely get you the big stars if you write a Planet Hollywood episode. We'll get you Arnold and Bruce and Stallone. And then they did it, and then they're like, no, we're not doing that.
I think they also offered that to Duckman because Duckman had a thing with those guys in it, but it wasn't them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So they're just shopping around this idea to every animated sitcom in like 1995.
Their scam. Wow.
And
great con.
So yes, Homer's driving around. He almost gets crushed by great animation on the car being crushed in half, and then the pickaxe smashing into his head, and his brain damage line that we heard at the start. That was great. And so now Homer then heads into the office, and that's where he finally almost hears what he wanted to from Lenny.
Homer, if I may compliment you.
Yes, go on.
That is one handsome rattlesnake you got biting your arm there.
Yeah, it's quite fetching, but aren't you worried about the deadliness?
Nah, he'll get tired of biting in an hour or so. Snakes. Nature's quitters. That horoscope was baloney. Nothing happened except for the pickaxe in my hand, the rattlesnake bite, and the testicle thing. What's for dessert?
No dessert until you eat your broccoli.
Oh, fine. Ah!
So Homer is killed by broccoli. This again feels like more of these punishing Marge for if Marge asks Homer to do a good thing, the worst possible outcome happens. It almost feels like, say, writers mad at their wives for telling them to exercise or eat vegetables. But also I like the what you can imagine from the testicle thing. What happened there? But I also really like Dan's delivery on like Letty complimenting you like, yes. I guess he choked to death on, well, from what Hibbert says, it seems that broccoli is like literally poisonous.
It tries to warn people with its terrible taste.
I think flavor, I've gotten more into broccoli this year. I wasn't a big fan of it. I'm like Homer, I'm bad at eating my greens, but I learned that I wasn't like seasoning broccoli or putting any other flavors on top.
You can
of
do
it.
that with food?
It's this revolutionary thing I've learned recently. And of course, I love air frying them. That's the Henry air fryer reference for the episode. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So then, good gag of them joking around Homer's corpse in front of the kids. I like that they're just it's easy when they're stiff like this.
And very sad.
So I watched all the deleted scenes on this one. And the first one that they made a big cut on is Homer flying up to heaven. He's almost hit by a plane. Then he tries to sneak past St. Peter. And he also says something like, "Oh, I never told Marge how much I loved Notting Hill." Then there's a joke that they kind of re-edit into this, but he pretends to be Ned Flanders, and then St. Peter's like, no, he's not supposed to die yet. He dies next Tuesday. And then Homer's like, see what that clean living got you, Flanders? That got cut, and they turned it into the joke we do see. He's like, I beat you to heaven, Flanders.
So that was like the remnant of like half of a joke.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. I honestly think all these, they made big cuts. There's like 90 seconds of cuts in here, and I think it really was all just to make room for Kang and Kodos at the end. But yes, Homer arrives in heaven.
St. Peter! Woohoo! Got to heaven before you, Flanders!
I wouldn't celebrate so soon, Mr. Simpson. I don't see a single good deed next to your name.
Well, the thing about that is...
Ow! Oh! Homer, settle down. I'll give you a chance to get into heaven. You have 24 hours to go back and do one good deed.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the number of hours or good deeds.
Oh, homie, I still can't believe a piece of broccoli killed you.
What the hell was I thinking? I tried the broccoli again.
You have 23 hours left.
I like the amount of time they waste by Homer's ghost dying.
Yes, yeah. And then a ghost flies out of his ghost. That's a really
pretty good.
Visual.
Pretty good.
They have I do like on the commentary that Matt Selman kind of craps on that. I'm like, oh boy, a St. Peter joke. Never seen that in a comedy before.
Well, he should be greeting Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Black Panther and Alex Trebek.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be fun if they all played Jeopardy in heaven together? I bet they don't want to see their loved ones. I bet Ruth Bader Ginsburg wants to be 90 in heaven.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She has to be the age she died at for sure.
We're talking about bad political cartoons, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, they're all high-fiving John McCain.
Oh, yeah. They're fist bumping.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Sorry.
That's all I can think of when I see St. Peter is whenever a celebrity dies, it is like you get to just day drink as a political cartoon. It's just like my day is like half over. I already got my idea.
Yep. You would have figured that those great Gene Kelly, the Kelly comics and Onion that did all of those for like the last 8 years, you'd think that would have taught the actual cartoons to be like, all right, I won't do a heaven thing. I'm not going to do heaven stuff anymore. But nope. Like, it's worse than ever, I'd say. Oh yeah, so there's also another deleted scene right before Homer eats the broccoli. He gets mad that Bart is crying because Krusty got preempted, not because he's dead, and he tries to strangle Bart but can't. So it's all right joke there. So here's a big theory I have about this St. Peter thing. I think Homer was always going to fail with it, and this is actually the first part of your damnation suffering, is they trick you into thinking you get one more shot, and you are definitely going to fail and get sent to heaven anyway, thus making your suffering even worse. But yes, Homer comes back. He greets Marge. I love his ghost voice to her. Dead wrong. That's so great that he thinks he has to talk that way as a ghost.
He's seen a lot of movies.
And also I like that as she suggests, like, just do chores, he says that I'm not trying out for Jesus. Another good line. So then we come to, I think, my biggest gut laugh in the episode is him helping Agnes, I think.
Yeah. Apparently she was supposed to be dropped onto the Boy Scouts flag and be impaled by it, but they thought that was a little too far.
Yeah,
there are some violence gags they cut out that are deleted scenes in this.
Yeah. Though that Agnes one is not, that you don't see the impaling is not on the deleted scenes on the DVD, but you can totally see the lead scout has a flagpole with a big point on it. So I think they must have animated it.
Does every Tress MacNeille voice character get murdered horribly in this episode? It really feels like it.
And that she has to find a new way to scream to her death like 4 different times in here. But yeah, no, Agnes is, let's hear Agnes's death.
Okay, good deed, good deed. Hello?
Hey, a chance for a good deed.
No, she's mine.
Oh, my Lord. What's happening to me? People can see up my bustle.
Hey, stop squirming. Uh-oh. I'm pretty sure she was going to be the next Hitler. Hello? Good deed done.
Oh, God, her fall, like, Homer picks her up so high. Like,
They're only crossing the street.
Yeah. It's and then he thinks he can get away with it if he says, like, I think she was going to be the next Hitler, so that was actually a good deed I did. Is this over? I think though the idea that she off screen just smashed into like 2 cars and probably killed somebody else, like, that's also a pretty violent death.
This is a horrific episode.
Yes. I guess they pick Agnes because it's like she is such a awful person in the show that maybe you don't feel too bad at this innocent woman being murdered by Homer. But God, just the sound of the squish, like, God. So next scene, Homer is drinking a squishy that's dropping through him as he walks, which that's pretty great.
I think just paralyzing Edna and Frank.
Yes, yeah. Also,
they broke their necks on the pavement.
And I don't think that was a Marcia Wallace scream on Edna. I do think it's subbed in there. But he then comes upon Nelson torturing Bart with the taunt, "Your dad is dead, mine's just in jail." It's a really great joke that Homer thinks he can save him, and then he just gets noogies as well, and Bart just awkwardly runs away. Like, that's really posed really well. I love that. They say on the commentary they weren't sure if they wanted it to be that Bart could see his dad or not, so he just awkwardly walks away.
He was just saved from noogieing. Just don't question it.
And all he's seeing is Nelson doing that to air, right? Like, Nelson, though, has like paranormal powers. He can touch the undead.
That's a different Treehouse of Horror segment.
So Homer, almost out of possible good deeds he could do. He's sitting at the bottom of the stairs. We then get a whole Battleship Potemkin thing.
You know what? I was surprised that they didn't take it as far as they normally would. Because
they didn't kill a baby, you mean?
I mean, in terms of the parody, like, it's barely that. Like, it's not even like a shot-for-shot thing. I was waiting for the iconic shot, but I don't think they ever really get to it.
Yeah, I think they just kind of speed through it. It's more just like a setting, and it's like, it's also the Untouchables theme, though, of course, I didn't know any of these things when I first saw this scene parodied in Naked Gun. I think it was Naked Gun 33 and a third. It was the opening gag in that, which was like 17 strollers kept falling down, and it's all just in slow motion. I like that Homer doesn't even do it through wanting to. He's just like, shut up, baby.
Just grabs a stranger's baby, yeah.
And we get to see the mangled stroller burst into flames. This is a real things bursting into flames era of comedy. And so Homer thinks he saved the day, but turns out St. Peter wasn't watching.
Oh, it's a miracle. Thank heavens.
Woohoo! Did you see that? I did the deed. Open up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't looking.
Hey, I thought you guys could see everything.
No, you're thinking of Santa Claus.
Well, I'll be damned.
I'm afraid so, yes.
I am Homer Simpson.
Silence, sinner! Prepare for an eternity of horrible pain! Oh, be quiet. You'll wake up John Wayne.
I'm already up.
That's a great joke to end the act on.
I love it's a great impersonation of John Wayne too. I like that. He's a character in his movies with his like old kettle of coffee that he's been drinking.
Just to infer that he's in hell is a fun subversive joke.
Yeah. They sort of wink at it on the commentary, but the year this commentary was recorded, they did Treehouse 19, which has a bit about celebrities mad that they're in advertising, and you see Celebrity Heaven. John Wayne is in Celebrity Heaven there, so they I prefer to think of John Wayne in Celebrity Hell myself.
It was either there was a funny joke on either Family Guy or American Dad. I think it was American Dad where they inferred that Jim Henson is in hell.
Oh man.
And it was like he knows why. He knows what he did. They won't tell you why he's in hell, but he's just there.
Though the devil design, it's not Ned, but it's also not the one that they introduced in season 2. Like it's this new
kind of weird generic buff devil guy.
I think it's the devil from whatever that mascot was in the 50-foot eyesores. Segment. I forget whatever he was, the like deviled ham or something like that. It's that guy.
Yeah, and I checked too. It's also basically that design on the Devil's Advocate machine that comes in. So that's an Insane Clown Poppy, which airs 2 episodes after this one, but it actually is produced before this one. So I wonder if they pulled out the old one from the season 8 Treehouse and they used it in the design of Devil's Advocate, and they're like, you know what, we got this devil, why are we making 2 devils? Also, I mean, the season 2 devil doesn't look like a normal character in season 12.
No, but I love that design. That wormy little devil.
Though I guess they do, for the thread of this scene, you need a big buff devil to torture you, not a dorky one who talks about like when the Braves are going to win the World Series. That was a fun little one about Homer being dead. Also, they've done multiple ones where a character is dead and has to do something to get back. Like there was the 2018 season finale was the one where Bart's in a coma, but he thinks he's dead and he's a ghost who has to do stuff. And that one ended with Maude Flanders' ghost commanding that Bart kill Homer as revenge for Homer killing her. Which, again, it was all non-canonical though, because it was a dream. It was a coma dream by Bart.
Sure.
All right, so
still very weird.
So this next one is the fairy tales one's just a generic collection of fairy tales, which I think is fun. You can't.
Yeah, it's okay. There's some good lines.
Yeah, just doing one of them wouldn't stretch enough over a full thing, and so. But they got to start with like Rocky and Bullwinkle fractured fairy tales, and then up the satire far beyond that, which involves like child murder and the like to really make it work here. So we start with the fun like wood carving image of a fairy tale book and Bart watching the fire like it's a TV.
I think one thing we get for the first time on these Treehouse of Horrors is that the writer of the segment, their name appears.
Yeah.
Which didn't happen before. You used to get like just a shotgun blast of names up front.
You're right. Yeah. Normally it is, especially when you'd have like 5 writers because you'd have like 2 different writing combos. It would just flash on screen the entire shot, like the start of Treehouse 4.
Bright green dripping font.
I think it's better since they're going to do a title card for each segment anyway. Just get the writer's name underneath it. Yeah. This is Don Payne and John Frank, who will again, Bob said we'll talk more about them in Insane Clown Poppy, which also was produced before this one. So that's a legitimate order anyway.
Yes. Finally, Professor Frank is writing on the show.
It's true. He really is the reason they named that character Frank. But anyway, yeah, so Lisa has the fairy tale book in the world of fairy tales, basically a cheat code for the entire segment. And I do think Bart saying he's gotten the plague and just got over it, that hits different in 2020 than it did in the year 2000. Homer comes in to announce he's not so happy. He got fired from his oaf job.
Who's up for a merry jig? Ow! Oh, who am I kidding? I'm not Mary. I lost my job as an oaf today.
What? Oh, why are the oafs always the first to go?
Maybe you could be a dunce, Father.
Really?
Hey!
What do you think? Do you love it? Ow! 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 Oh, I'm no dunce. I was born an oaf and I'll die an oaf.
But husband, without your weekly pittance, how shall we feed our children?
Don't worry. No child will ever starve in my home. So long, kids. Yeah. Enjoy your new home. Say hi to your other brother and sister.
Other brother and sister? Face it, they're not great parents.
I love whenever we see Bart and Lisa skeletons, and the skeleton also has their hair shapes.
That's
hair,
great.
yeah.
And also that like perfect clones of them were born before they were born, which I love too.
And Bill Oakley, a while ago on Twitter, he determined that oaf is the funniest like comedic insult word.
Yeah,
it's a great sounding word. I mean, it's one syllable. It's got that F sound, which is funny. It's got like 2 vowels in a row. It packs a lot of funny sounds into one word.
And it's a good like period at the end of an insult that you can go like, you stupid oaf. Like,
oaf.
Yeah, just cutting off the air like that.
Oaf.
Yeah, oaf. There's a deleted scene there. Marge says, why is it the oafs who are the first to go? Lisa corrects her and says it's oves.
Yeah.
But at least according to Wikipedia, both are correct. It can be oves or oafs. So
because it's like loaf, right?
I guess
Loaf
it follows
and
the
loaves.
same rule.
An old-timey joke. So we're at the launch of the Xbox Series X on this podcast. We're recording as it launches. An old-timey joke on the internet was you call the plural of Xbox is Xboxin. Like ox and oxen. I'm explaining to you a joke from the message boards of 2000.
Man, I missed out on that. I like that. Xbox. And
the X-Bone.
I miss
so
talking about the X-Bone. Now it's like, what do you say? I guess you call it the sex. Is that what you call it now?
Sex bone.
Yeah, the
XX.
The Homer, they get away with, I like that Marge and Homer get to be cruel, awful parents in this one. And just about how, you lived to be 30 back then, and your children are just your, slaves, basically, and you throw them out if you can't feed them.
I was also thinking, like, this is doing Shrek better than Shrek did, a year before Shrek.
Yeah, you're right. This is, Shrek's May 2001. We're so close to the 20th anniversary.
What if a
Shrek.
fairy tale was twisted and made fun of Michael Eisner?
This doesn't grind as many axes with other executives. Not to say there definitely some personal axes were grinded in this segment, though, as we'd find out for the commentary. But so the kids start walking through the forest. They first come upon a troll under a bridge, and I really love Mo as a troll design.
Oh, it's so great.
And I'm
so desperately lonely.
That's become Mo's catchphraise since the Love-Matic Grandpa.
He gets both his catchphrases in here. Desperately lonely and wah. Yeah. And he's like, he has the giant troll doll hair. That's great too. I'm glad he has clothes on and is not nude and genital free like those troll dolls. So then we get a riff on the Three Bears, which I swear is a joke I've seen. There have been a million Three Bears parodies for like 200 years, but I don't think I've ever seen a joke about combining the hot and cold porridge to make them good.
No, yeah.
That was innovating
like a genius.
In the bear space, I think.
Yeah, it's so clever. Like, it's hot and cold together make warm. Just do that for your giant pile of porridge. As they're home, though, they realize that the bears are coming back too.
Bowls of porridge. Oh, this seems somehow familiar. Let's see. Oh, whoa, too hot. Oh, too cold. Well, this doesn't take a genius. We're in a Three Bears house. That was close. I wonder where Goldilocks was. Oh, that bed was just right.
Oh God. It's so grisly.
A lot of grisly screams in this one.
Yeah.
It's the impact is double listening, just hearing it instead of seeing it.
You can just imagine the death blow.
Oh, I mean, the cruelty that Bart and Lisa trapped her in there too, that she probably could have gotten away. But
It also makes me think this is also a bit inspired by the movie Scream because Lisa knows the rules of fairy tales.
I think you're right. Yeah, she's the Jamie Kennedy of this. Then
Far less irritating.
I love the design of the bears. They come in like regular cartoon bears, even singing the Teddy Bear Picnic song. But the second they see Goldilocks, they become basically the scary bears that yell at Maggie in the season 1 camping episode.
Oh, yeah.
According to the commentary, Scully didn't just like that it was just screaming on the door. He wanted blood to come out from under it, too. So, and God, the Tress, she screams when she's pretending to be a little girl and an old lady. She screams different. Like, that's just Tress MacNeille, one of the greatest voice actors of her generation. Like,
Then the witch scream is different than the Agnes scream.
Yeah, you're right.
Wow, yeah.
She does like 5 different shades of old lady.
That's her skill. Yeah, I mean, Agnes, witches, and Mom from Futurama, entirely different old lady voices. Oh, and then there's I didn't even name a nice old lady, but she's also good at being a nice old lady too. I guess that's both types of mom. Nice fake mom on Futurama and mean mom in Futurama. But so yeah, they abandoned Goldilocks to be killed. We then cut to Homer, and a real runner in production season 11 is hand dusting off jokes. And, as we recall in the last Treehouse, when Homer dumps Ned's body, he goes like, "That's the end of that chapter." Walks away dusting his hands. And in Last Tap Dance in Springfield, Wiggum says, "Oh, that's the end of the giant rap." He dusts off his hands. They go say, "Well, wait, are you sure? What about getting the giant cats back in?" He's like, "I believe I did." So
we're out of the pennant phase into the hand dusting phase of runners.
I especially love how Homer puts it as like dumping your kids in the forest sure makes your hands dusty. But Marge finds out that she's very disappointed, says, "We could have sold him," which I love that. Marge gets to be bad.
Yeah, it's great.
And
you
Maggie,
don't see it coming.
And Maggie is currently for sale in the window.
Yes. Marge has to be nice sometimes. Like one of my favorite Scully era Treehouses is when Marge is the witch. Like that she, like Julie Kavner gets to cackle and triumphantly like murder people. Like that's fun.
What season is the vampire one where they think Mr. Burns is the
season 5.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And
Season
then Marge is, yeah.
Yeah, and I love. I do have a life outside of this house, you know. Yeah, Julie needs to get to have more. I think she really enjoys being evil too. So, and then another like truly disgusting joke of Homer saying, "I know we could make some more kids." Oh, so gross. The kind of stuff they can only get away with in a treehouse. And so Homer walks off into the woods. He says, "I'm ever so sorry," and he runs into Rapunzel. And then we get another horrifying joke of Homer trying to climb up her hair, ripping her scalp off, which hits the ground with a squish.
And then he just like pushes it aside under a bush.
Yeah. And that's more screaming. I didn't want to play that one.
Is that more Tress MacNeille?
I think it is.
Yeah.
You know what? Here, let's hear it. I think it is more Tress MacNeille screaming.
I pray
Yeah.
you, climb up and rescue me. Ow! No!
It's even
God,
worse when you're
It's worse hearing it. Yeah.
We're all on the same page here.
Good sound design on that squish hitting the ground of a pulpy.
That's like a bowl of spaghetti hitting the ground.
Oh God, yeah. So there is a hidden deleted scene on the DVD from this scene as well, where after Homer walks away whistling, the actual knight from the fairy tale shows up, and he's like, "Rapunzel, I'm here," and Good Christ! Oh, that's just wrong. I would bet it got cut because it said good Christ.
Probably.
But also, it's like, I don't know. That's a hat on a hat. You've already had the Homer cruelty. You don't need that reaction.
Slamming the door on that joke is a better way to go.
Yeah. The kids then run into a witch, and you know what? She seems pretty trustable. They head inside, and that's why that's the one time Lisa does not read her book, which is pretty great too. They then head in, and things aren't going so well for them.
Sweep faster! It's almost time for your beating!
Oh, this is horrible. Horribly delicious. You know, she's only fattening you up so she can eat you. What are you gonna do? Well, at least stop basting yourself.
Stop your chattering and sweep! This house is filthy!
So what do you care? It's not like you have friends.
I have a boyfriend.
Yeah,
Sure.
right.
What? I do.
Oh, yeah? What's his name?
George. Cauldron.
George Cauldron? Maybe he can fix me up with Ed Ladle.
That's it! Into the oven with you!
Sugar Walls.
Father, I know you'd rescue us.
I'll rescue you, stuff myself with candy. It's all good.
I don't like that I know George Cauldron is real now because that was an amazing payoff later in this episode.
Yeah.
And I have a link to the music video for Sugar Walls.
Oh boy.
By the one and only Sheena Easton.
Okay. Let me pull it up here.
Which Sonic level is this?
Okay.
Oh my god.
Sonic has passed Sugar Wall Zone, Act 2.
And you're telling me that's a euphemism of some kind when she
Could
says
be.
my sugar walls? I don't see it. Well, I also like that the next video that YouTube suggests when I go to that is Raspberry Beret, which, well, yeah, so they get away, like, they really got away with something there using sugar walls to, but I guess technically they are walls made out of sugar, so Homer, yeah. But, so that George Cauldron bit, I love that Lisa, these are kind of jokes Lisa never gets to do either, of like mocking somebody.
Yeah, I like her little sure.
Yeah. Though the George Cauldron is also a Brady Bunch joke because
No way.
Yeah, in a season 4 episode, Jan lies that she has a boyfriend. They're like, "You don't have a date." She's like, "Yeah, his name's George. George Glass," because she sees a glass. So it's fully a Brady Bunch joke as well.
Okay.
And there's also another great joke on the commentary of grading, seeing Bart eating. He says like, "Oh, that's the writer's room."
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Because the writers are famous for Jeff Martin actually just had a great quote recently saying like he remembers being in the writer's room as sitting all day and watching your friends get progressively older and fatter. I also like that the Homer eats a load-bearing candy cane. I like anytime a Simpsons joke can joke about a load-bearing anything. I enjoy that.
Load-bearing candy cane, load-bearing poster.
Yeah.
These are the classic load-bearing jokes.
I didn't know things could bear loads in a construction way. Also, there's a deleted scene where when Homer busts through the wall, he gets called an oaf by the witch, and he goes like, "Oh, I'm not a clumsy oaf just yet, but thanks for the compliment." It also feels very the year 2000 to hear Homer say, "It's all good."
Oh yeah. People don't say that anymore because I mean nothing is good, but
Yeah.
slang has evolved.
Yeah. Should we try to bring it back? It's all good.
Let's wait for things to be good.
Oh, okay.
At least partially good.
Well, that's never going to happen, Bob. Come on. I'll say it ironically when things aren't good.
I like the creature that Homer gets turned into progressively by the witch when she's casting spells at him, and he gets turned into something that kind of reminds me of like Mr. Sparkle because he has a fish for a head and he's like half chicken and brooms for arms.
I think
pretty good.
I think he even speaks like fake Japanese when he gets turned into fish head.
Oh yeah. It's that had to be, I think, at least on the artist side, an intentional reference to the half of Mr. Sparkle that's a fish.
The Matsumura Fish Works or whatever.
Yeah.
And though I think he got donkey ears because that's Pinocchio. I think.
Yeah. It's a real like Duck Amuck style creation.
It's great. Yeah,
definitely.
Oh man, and the animators, Matt Nastic and his team, the animation on his chicken strut, like they have to invent.
It's great.
They invent this entirely new character for Homer, and then he has to like have broom arms that still have to move like chicken wings as he struts around.
And the brooms are like Fantasia, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Homer's having a final battle with her. He gets his head stuck in the oven, and he loves the smell of his own cooking flesh.
That's a classic like Bugs Bunny's in a pot.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's a good variation on it this time.
What smells so good, Doc?
In that one, it's like that works on a certain level because it's like, oh, the bath is heating up, but in this case, it's like your head is shoved in an oven and you forget that your head is on fire.
Wait, isn't there another Halloween episode where Homer's head gets turned into a donut and then he's like eating his own head?
Yes, that was the other time he went to hell in the Treehouse 4. Yeah, so you're right. Not only is it a Homer likes this taste of his own head, but also a Homer goes to hell one.
But he's not picking like fish flesh off of his head and eating it.
That would be a little too much even for this episode.
It'd be hard to animate that too with his broom arms though, picking off pieces of his head.
True.
Yeah. But we have a different self-eating joke that comes after that.
Yeah.
But yes, if you guys aren't had your fill yet of hearing Tress MacNeille scream in pain, this is the cherry on top. I think the best one in the episode.
The fourth time so far?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think she does it in the third act, so I think this is the last one we're gonna hear.
Just a minute. Oh, God, no! Let me out! I couldn't be in more pain!
Hello, I'm George Cauldron. Is Suzanne ready yet?
Almost. Just give her another 20 minutes.
Yeah, but the concert's at 8.
Well, we're still poor, but thanks to your father, we'll never go hungry.
Speaking of which, how about seconds?
Coming up.
You know what? I would have ended the act in this segment with, but the concert's at 8.
Yeah, that's a stronger last laugh, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, I guess it's like a little, because like you think like, oh, they're just gonna eat the candy house forever, but then like, no, Homers still have chicken.
I guess they like the shitting out the Homer.
Yeah.
I mean,
They just really loved it.
Yeah, I mean, Dan does a good job of making pushing sounds with Homer and his birth of his eggs.
But like they ended Act 1 with like an out of nowhere John Wayne joke. I like this out of nowhere payoff to George Cauldron, and like he's a regular guy, and the witch's name is Suzanne. He reminds me of like a Hugh Jazz character where the fake name is real, and he's just a regular cool guy. And I want to hang out with George Cauldron.
You know, George is going to blame himself if he ever finds out that ringing the doorbell distracted Suzanne and defeated her. And Suzanne is named after Don Payne's real life sister, so he enjoyed doing that. I should say the late Don Payne, and no longer with us, sadly. But yeah, the reveal of George Cauldron, I really do love his just very realistic put uponness. Like, the concert's at 8. We're gonna miss the concert. What is a concert in this fable time? So too, I guess like
some sorts of lutes and lyres.
Like a bard.
Yeah,
a bard, just sort of vibing. Just flipping out on the lute. Yeah.
But at least the wood carving image of Homer pooping out an egg is it's a funny drawing. But the bigger laugh was the concerts at 8. Yeah, you're right. So. Then we come to the third segment, which I have extra notes on deleted things in this because
there's a lot.
They did picture-in-picture animatic as well on the commentary. So there's even stuff that got cut. A couple things that got cut or added from storyboard that I will remark upon when it comes. But
so now we're on to Night of the Dolphin. The title, at least, is a parody of Day of the Dolphin, right?
Yeah. Which it's a Mike Nichols, Buck Henry, George C. Scott film about training dolphins to do assassinations, and apparently it's not a comedy. Though, wait, it has to. Buck Henry and Mike Nichols doing something. It has to be a comedy, right? But the wiki says not a comedy, just sci-fi.
I love the poster for this movie because the tagline sticks on my head. It's a picture of like George C. Scott in scuba gear, and the tagline is, "Unwittingly, he trained a dolphin to kill the president of the United States." Man, I can't believe I did that.
Well, 70s, that was like when John C. Lilly was doing all that weird stuff with dolphins and trying to talk to them. So dolphins were in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, you're right.
When they flooded that house and that lady lived with that dolphin and allegedly did stuff with that dolphin.
Oh, my dear.
So you could train a dolphin to kill by accident.
This was the end of dolphin jokes, I feel like. Sequest was like 5 years before this. And
it was also like late 90s, like sneering at environmentalism. Like, what if dolphins were bad and we should kill them? Those sort of jokes.
Wait, sorry. Paul Sorvino is in The Day of the Dolphin.
Oh, wow. That had to be early in his career, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1973.
Wow.
Paul Sorvino was born in Okay, yeah, no, he's in his 20s or
How
30s.
handsome is a young Paul Sorvino, I wonder.
I wonder.
Bob, I think you're right that this comes from the same place as most Lisa episodes in this era, which is to punish Lisa for believing in something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's in this case, it's like, oh, you wanted to save the dolphins? Well, actually, they're the attackers, and now that justifies us killing dolphins for a bunch of time on this episode. And just also, it's about making Lisa say, "I'm sorry for caring." Like that's also what it's about.
Yeah.
The episode begins in Marine World, I guess a meeting of Marine Land and Sea World. Though I love the subtitle of it, no longer educational. Like that's great. And we see Snorky riding around in his hula skirt and lei. And you got to give it to Frank Welker in this one. He has to play so many dolphins. Every dolphin, there's a couple times where it's just they use the regular dolphin squeak sound that we hear in every cartoon. But a lot of the times it's just Frank Welker making the noise that you're like,
wait, this is like Frank Welker, like Megatron Frank Welker?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
He's a master of animal noises. Like famous animals he's played are like Abu on Aladdin, like any kind of monkey or cat or dog. Like, if there is a Santa's Little Helper focused episode,
he was Curious George. He was Nibbler.
Nibbler too. Yeah, even the speaking voice of Nibbler.
Yeah. In a normal episode, if Santa's Little Helper is going to bark like twice, then they just tell Dan Castellaneta
or say Chewie.
Yeah. That's a good one. But otherwise, if there's going to be a lot of barking, you get Frank Welker. Yeah, Frank Welker, Megatron and Transformers, Freddie Jones and Scooby-Doo.
Slimer.
Slimer, yeah. Slimer comes from the same place as sounds. I've said it before. He's in his 70s. You know, when he, let's just say, retires, it's going to be a tough time for voice acting because they're going to have to hire like 17 people to do all the animal noises he makes.
Well, Peter Cullen, who was Optimus Prime, played a horse, not a talking horse, just like a regular horse in the cartoon show adaptation of what is it called? Dragon's Quest? No, that FMV laser disc.
Oh, Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair.
Yeah.
Dragon's Lair. Yeah.
I didn't know he was a horse.
I bet Welker.
He was a horse called Bertram. Yeah.
I can assure you that Welker and Cullen are probably auditioning for that same role.
Yeah.
He outhorsed me.
Well, I mean, you brought it up on the last horse episode of Simpsons, but like Welker was busy, and so Jim Cummings did the horse Duncan in that one.
God, so there are like 3 existing horse guys you can bring in.
3 horse guys, yeah.
All in their 70s now, I think, or pushing it. Yeah. So Snorky is performing, and everybody rushes into the water to destroy Snorky and torture him. And I will say there is a disgusting deleted scene here.
I missed this scene.
When everyone's rushing into there, Wiggum rushes in too with Ralph and pushes past everybody. And Ralph puts his finger in the blowhole of Snorky, and the joke is that it's gross, and that Wiggum's like, we're going to go wash this hand. And I was like, I don't like to see Ralph put his finger in a blowhole. It's kind of disturbing and awful.
I'm glad that they cut that.
So, but if you have your season 12 DVD, break it out, and you can give it a watch.
I see many blowholes get a fingered.
Ugh, God.
It just sounds bad.
And I also like the joke too that the Marine World world calls everybody away to their lobster tank because they kill lobsters every day and feed them to you.
They're warming up the lobster tank so you can pet them before you eat them.
But then Lisa gets a moment alone with Snorky and decides it's time to help.
Oh, Snorky.
Folks, we're heating up the lobster tank, so hurry on over if you want to pet them before you eat them.
It's okay, they're gone now. You could... Hey, where are you going? Oh, you want to be with your friends.
And Lisa decides to let it go. I love when the guards show up. They're like, it's getting away. Kill it.
Yeah. Now, if I was in the comedy police, I would pull these guys over and I would say, do you know how old this reference is, sir? Do you realize how old this reference is?
Yep.
Because The Simpsons already did it and it was better.
7 years earlier they did it.
Yeah.
And he crushed our boy.
The Free Willy came out in 1993.
Yeah.
It's so old.
And it did not have the like cultural staying power.
No
like
way.
Recently we did a South Park episode for What a Cartoon, our other podcast, in which they did a Lion King parody 6 years after the movie came out, but it was a good enough parody of an iconic enough scene that it worked. I don't think this stayed in the cultural memory nearly as long.
I don't want to blame Al Jean on every bad movie reference, but I do feel like this is his, also because Critic did a Free Willy joke like the same year Simpsons did, and it was the same joke. It was which is like the joke you would make is, it didn't clear the child and hits it. At least in this case, there's at least really good animation on the slow-mo of Lisa being smacked in the face with a wet dolphin tail. But at the very least on the commentary, Scully recognizes, we did it in season 5. We know. All right. Forget it.
I had a Cracked magazine and the cover was Feed Willy, and instead of crushing the boy, he eats the boy.
I like that.
Good joke.
That's good. You get a title pun as well. The dolphin gets away. I love that they have just an incredibly long subtitled dolphin conversation that includes lines like, they made me do tricks like a common seal. And then they even subtitle inaudible whispers. I love that gag. But they have decided it's time to turn on the world, and starting with Lenny in a scene reminiscent of the first scene in Jaws.
Alcohol and night swimming. It's a winning combination. Oh, sharks! The assassins of the sea! Ooh, hey, you're not sharks. You're dolphins. The clowns of the sea. Ow! Ow! Hey, what's the gag?
Just a look into Lenny's life. He goes out alone at night to drink from a flask while swimming.
I gotta say, a winning combination is one of those lines that I just find myself using all the time and totally forgot that it came from this episode.
It's a winning combination is a great way to present anything. It's like, it's a winning combination.
It's either that or a duet of pleasures, as Martin would say.
I also love the idea of you just surfaced from the water, you're still kind of wet, and that you have you then drink liquor as you're doing it. It's just, I don't mean it in a sexual way, but I do like to imagine Lenny is naked during it. It's he's skinny dipping too, just for extra fun. I guess also that's because the girl in the opening of Jaws is skinny dipping when she's eating. So maybe that's why I imagine Lenny naked.
We all imagine Lenny naked. There's no shame in it.
I would love to see a nude Lenny if we could generate that.
But it has to be drawn by somebody who worked on the show. It can't just be all these fake nude. Sorry. I never see
a nude Lenny. You know, in the 90s and 2000s, I feel like, I don't know if it's still the case, but you'd always get these ads on websites, websites that were see Simpsons porn. And it was who is obsessed with this, who is the market for this, there's never a nude Lenny. There's never like a Lenny Carl kind of.
I bet if we Googled for nude Lenny, he'd be huge, and the other female Simpsons characters would be crawling on him, and Marge would be running at his privates with a ladder.
See, I did just Google nude Lenny, and you do just get a lot of real life women, but then also Lenny Kravitz.
Oh yeah,
I figured, yeah.
Well, because his penis exploded out of his pants one time on stage. So.
Nude Lenny Simpsons. Does that do anything? You get a screen cap of Homer imagining Lenny in the shower.
Okay, all right. I see. That's legitimate. I was worried. I don't like ironic drawings of Lenny and Carl having sex. I want it with sexual intent.
I want it with eroticism.
Yes, yeah. But here's the danger of doing a great joke with Lenny being murdered. That later in the episode, when they need Lenny in a scene for a Lenny and Carl scene, they have to sub in Moe in those moments because they kill Lenny here.
And that doesn't like Krusty slap Carl?
Yeah. It's a couple things like they ruin their ability to do Lenny and Carl jokes later by killing Lenny here.
It should be Lenny clapping for the dolphin takeover, not Carl. Carl's usually the one that has the upper hand on Lenny.
Right, yeah. It makes Carl too stupid. I don't like that, but that's a sacrifice. I mean, but you have to ask yourself, is this funnier with a different character than Lenny? I think it's funniest seeing Lenny die in this way, like bludgeoned by bottled noses. Would it be funnier with Moe? I don't know. Or Apu? I think it's funny. I think it's funniest with Lenny. And so it's the next morning in a scene out of Jaws. He closes, Wiggum thinks it is rowdy teens that did it, and he shuts down the prom. And then there's a great gag of the sea captain thinking he's the only one who can save the day, and he is instantly ripped in half by him. I love that. Like, it's so quick, but like that makes sense. The two dolphins do the dolphin jump, and they're going in opposite directions. Oh, as long as we're referencing Simpsons jokes that feels like they already did it before. Remember in season 5 in Boy Scouts in the Hood where they're just like, dolphins, they're here to save us.
Oh, right.
And they laugh and say, you're all going to die. Kind of the same vein as this.
The dolphins didn't like assist in their death, though.
Yeah,
or try to eat them.
They just laugh at it. And so here's one thing that changed in the storyboard. There was not a joke that they imitated Sea Captain. That came in post animatic. So
it's a cute joke.
It's really great. Like, I'm the Sea Captain. Arr. But the dolphin rampage is only beginning, and I play this one too because you can actually tell Frank Welker as a dolphin is saying, "Do you want fries with that?" in this bit here.
2 Krusty Shakes, a donut burger with cheese, and a party-sized bucket of flan. Yes, I will have fries with that. Anything to get out of work.
Our top story, killer dolphins.
Killer dolphins?
The recent wave of murders... Did I say killer dolphins? I meant killer Italians. Gray, bottle-nosed, intelligent Italians.
Intelligent Italians? Something's wrong.
Dolphins. We have to stop them. If we speak in low-frequency voices, I don't think they can...
That intelligent Italians line is funny.
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong. But the now see it as an extra joke that Homer doesn't realize it's a dolphin talking to him because it's a joke that the intercoms sound all squeaky at drive-thrus.
Okay.
I think that's the extra joke.
No, you're right. Yeah, I thought it was funny that like the teen's head dropped into his lap, and Homer thinks he's faking sickness or something.
Yeah. That also was added post animatic too. The anything to get out of work, not in the severed head is in there, but man, I could go for a party-sized bucket of flan, huh?
Donut burger.
That one is real.
That is real.
Yeah. Anyway, I forgot to mention too the great animation on the march of the dolphins onto land. And Scully reveals that they may have broken union rules by him and the sound mix team. They did the dolphin marching sounds of like and like the day before airing. So that's and then a good little gag on the volleyball net too. I like that. They then, another bit that doesn't make sense to me though, is right after that Bart's the one who says they should call Abe. I feel like it should be Lisa saying that. Like, Bart shouldn't care that much. I don't know. But though I do like that Homer thinks it's good that the phone is off the hook. And
everything must be okay.
yeah. And a great drawing of Abe being eaten very slowly, more like a snake would eat something instead of a dolphin would. And
in the there's a deleted scene in which he appears again, in which he is rescued from this fate.
During the big fight at the end, they cut a lot of cool action.
I think they mostly cut like violence towards dolphins.
Yes, yeah, and the great horrible violence joke they cut was Mo fills the blowhole with gasoline, lights it on fire, and it explodes. And after exploding, Abe's body living is there.
It's fully intact, bigger than the dolphin ever was.
And then he starts doing like basically Matrix Kung Fu fighting in the middle of it. It's that's the closest to a Matrix reference you got in this one.
Wow. Wow.
I guess the only other Matrix reference I can recall on Simpsons in season 12 is the in sync jump with the camera turn.
And close with a Matrix.
Yeah. But yes, in this one, Abe is just eaten and he's going to do some liver punching on his way down. And it's time for action by our political leaders in this dangerous time.
People, please. We're all frightened and horny, but we can't let some killer dolphins keep us from living and scoring. Willie, must you do that now? You want streaks? Because if you interrupt me, that's what you'll get.
And that's supposed to be like a reference to Jaws when the meetings are interrupted by Quint putting his hands on the blackboard.
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Totally.
Oh, right, yeah.
And great animation of it just smashing through him.
Just
impaling Willie. Yeah, really violent.
Everyone's made out of like meringue, like Mr. Burns in this episode.
I didn't remember that we're all frightened and horny came from this episode. Because I feel like that's a line that I've seen going around a lot in the past 6 to 8 months or so.
Yeah, that it is a great line for these times, isn't it?
A mention of Burns that I did earlier, I made me think like he's not in this episode. Like they weren't as into Burns, Mike Scully's gang.
He's like in the front row, but that's kind of it. Like he's just among everybody else who's there.
It feels weird to miss. Burns being pure evil, just to miss a chance to do anything with him in a Halloween episode feels odd to me.
Yeah. Also, there's a moment that I was like, oh, yeah, this is the logic that they kick away the guns instantly. And that's when it hit me like, well, yeah, wait, even a whole bunch of dolphins, if they can't carry weapons, that I think we've got them, Then another just amazing animation. Like these animators have to draw, realistic dolphin movements in water. Then what does a realistic army of dolphins marching on their tail look like? And oh my God, the way Snorky slides in and wiggles around to right himself standing up, like, holy crap, that's good.
And then immediately afterwards, all of the Birds parody shots they have to do.
Oh God,
drawing hundreds of dolphins.
Again, Matt Nastic and his team, so good. But yes, it is time for Snorky to speak.
It's approaching the podium.
Surely it cannot speak.
Snorky. Talk. Man.
I'm sorry, let me start over. Eons ago, dolphins lived on the land.
What did he say? He said dolphins used to live on the land. What?
Then your ancestors drove us into the sea, where we've suffered for millions of years.
But you seemed so happy in the ocean. All that playful leaping.
We were trying to get out. It's cold, it's wet. Every morning I wake up phlegmy.
Plus all that sewage we keep dumping.
That was you?
It was her, all right. Take the one who wronged you.
I, King Snorky, hereby banish all humans to the sea.
Yeah, again, Carl shouldn't be cheering that. That's a Lenny move.
Definitely, yeah. And just having Harry Shearer's normal speaking voice coming out of Snorky is pretty cool.
I love that Bart and Mel set him up perfectly. Like, he's approaching the podium. It feels so specific the way he goes, Snorky talk, man. But I couldn't find what exactly it's from. It definitely feels like a Twilight Zone where they go like, this animal can't speak, and then it starts to speak in a weird voice.
I think Bart says he's approaching the podium because they realize like we haven't had any of our main characters talk in a while, so let's just give someone a line, like a useless line.
Though he's approaching the podium is more of a Mel line, which makes it even better that then Sideshow Mel says an even bigger setup for it. And yeah, the idea that like, oh, dolphins hated living on land or hated living in the water, and they're gonna get it comeback it's an interesting turn here. It also feels weird to see Krusty like slapping the back of Carl's head. It's like, when is there interaction between Carl and Krusty ever?
Yeah.
Maybe like Carl found a friend in Krusty after Lenny died, but he's gotten a little too clingy with Krusty, so Krusty's sick of him.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, Carl probably has been lost the last couple days without Lenny in his life.
Poor guy.
And also feels like the third Treehouse in a row where Homer offers up Lisa to be killed. Like, he definitely did it in the witch one where he's like, yes, it's her. She's a witch. And as they are told to leave, Homer tries to get everybody excited again. He brags about humanity creating things like the pudding cup and the glory hole, which, wow.
Shocking to hear the words glory hole on Fox.
I have a feeling censors didn't know what that meant in the year 2000.
I think you're right. Otherwise, that would not fly.
And but yeah, Homer, and also the idea that Homer takes pride in the glory hole existing, that it's great. And Homer walks out, and they are introduced to an entire Birds parody. Also, the second time that parody has happened in The Simpsons. They did it.
Babies.
Yeah, the baby version of it at the streetcar episode.
Oh, yeah.
But I loved hearing Scully's reasoning for it, and it totally makes sense to me as a kid, too, which is like, you see the end of Birds with all these birds like in this giant threat, like, oh, we have to walk slowly past all these birds. But spoilers for the movie The Birds, they then just leave and nothing happens to them. It's a big threat, but then the birds don't attack. Scully wanted to finally see the all-out war that would follow the you're surrounded by the animal scene. But the poor animators that had to be like, so you got to top the film of Birds on a weekly schedule. I think my favorite drawing is the dolphin flipping the coin next to like an old timey hot rod.
That was great.
But yes, the final battle begins.
Oh no, you poor thing. Here. Ow! Son of a...
Hey, leave my daughter alone! Come on, humans! We've wiped out entire species before! We can do it again!
If I could just move! This is really not... Move! You're hurting my...
Go! Let's drive them back to the ocean!
They are sent out to sea instead.
Yeah. Like we said earlier, all the violence towards dolphins was cut, like the one exploding. There's also a scene of like Hibbert fighting them with hypodermic needles.
Yeah, it's like 4-on-1, and he's stabbing them with needles the whole time. I wonder too if that's too imitatable an act. Don't show kids stabbing things with needles. And also, comic book guy in the deleted scene, he says like worst beating ever when he dies, which that's not that funny. It's better to hear his neck snap in the door. Which his murder is like out of Raging Bull.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. Also, I swear it sounded like they cut. I would have figured they'd have had Lisa say bitch, like saying son of a bitch, but they cut it off like through editing. You son of a. I feel like they were like, no, Lisa can't say that word.
Lisa was brought pretty low. In the past 5 years, I've seen the return of those six-pack rings, and I thought Captain Planet wrote a law or something.
Yeah.
This is Captain Bob saying, you cut those up, people. You cut them up before you throw them out.
I thought you had like the cardboard sleeves now, just replaced them like that. That kept the six together. Also, a big change in the storyboard was Bart saves Homer by using a slingshot to plug up a blowhole and kill the dolphin. In both storyboard and animatic, Bart pulls out like a BB gun or a cork gun. Like, it's very specifically showed Bart holding a gun and then shooting it, which I could see the censors having a note about Bart shouldn't hold guns, but also it's just a much more natural fit for him to use a slingshot, you know? But yeah, that was, I did also like that as the Dolphin Apu fight started, he throws dirt in Apu's eye. Like, he's fighting dirty, this dolphin. And how long they make you watch Apu get slapped in the face is very
Just
strange.
getting bruised and bloodied too.
Yeah.
And I really think the animators really met the occasion of being told, have a crowd of hundreds of dolphins and humans run at each other. Like, they did above and beyond on that. But yes, it's there's got to be some adjusting for the characters in this final clip.
Well, you gotta hand it to those dolphins. They just wanted it more.
I kind of wish I hadn't freed their leader and, doomed mankind.
Oh, honey, I wouldn't say doomed. It's gonna be an adjustment, no question.
Can you believe it, Kodos? They left us out of the Halloween show.
Are you sure the space phone is working? Hang up. They could be trying to call right now.
I knew we should have sent them a muffin basket.
Kang and Kodos Productions. Uh-huh. Yes. Just a second. Do we want to do a commercial for something called Old Navy?
Work is work.
It's good tentacle Foley on the King Kodos there.
Yeah. Again, nothing says 2000 like an Old Navy commercials joke.
Those commercials were hot.
They were, yeah.
And when I was like poor and in college, like $8 for jeans.
Yeah.
That last for 2 months.
There's the last of the big changes from the animatic was when it shows them in the water, everyone's in the water. They aren't sitting on the couch like the opening gag. I think it's much better than posed on the couch, but I love Marge's disgusted kicking away of Krusty, and also his grease paint is flowing in the water. Though, of course, as we all know, that's not makeup, so that's actually, let's say that's his skin falling off.
We're tiptoeing towards undoing that lore, and I don't like it.
I don't like it at all. No, I also did. It is the hard cut to them having lost is a really good gag, and that they even threw the Jebediah statue in the water, which is pretty great. Right. Yeah, but I really did. I think that is actually true. What happened? I think they did forget to write Kang and Kodos in it, and then did a late retake. Not that that's easy to do and animate late, but it's a simple enough single shot that they've reused many times. They don't even have to design a new background or posing on the character.
And I think they reuse footage of their UFO from earlier scenes or earlier episodes. It looks a bit different.
And also the muffin baskets coming back into The Simpsons, just like the Gersh Agency muffin baskets.
Or the Chubb Group.
The Chubb, yeah. And I do like any joke about two losers in Hollywood answering the phone and calling their company Productions, like Kodos Productions. Also, speaking of insidery comedy jokes, I had a good little laugh at Al Jean calling himself Alimony Jean.
Alimony Jean,
he's paying that.
Yeah.
Every alimony joke in the critic is because Al Jean was divorced.
Yep. Mike Reese still with the same wife decades later. It's Al Jean is happily married now too.
The Stephanie Gillis, a Simpsons writer.
That's right. Yeah. I guess the last note I'll make historically on this is that in the Simpsons video game of 2009, there's a whole section that's just like a mashup of concepts from other Treehouses that you then play in video game form. But as I recall, the biggest one was fighting all the dolphins.
Yeah.
And Matt Selman, who co-wrote the video game, I believe he came up with it because he loved this segment so much. He didn't even write it. This is Carolyn Omine one, but he was like, man, this is just so funny. And it really fits for a video game to fight perfect for a video game in that you were fighting an army of similar looking enemies.
One enemy.
Yeah, one enemy. Yeah. Every time I go back to that game, I'm like, the animation's great. This is a boring ass EA game to play.
It's so boring. It's not bad. It's just incredibly dull.
Just play the arcade game.
Oh, sure, yeah. Which got delisted. Like, bring those both back. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe Simpsons still works with EA on that Tapped Out game. Like, just put out Simpsons game remastered. Just do it. Like, yeah, but consoles are not where Simpsons games are anymore. It's on the money factory of the phone.
I think like 30
re-release Hit and Run.
That too, yeah. I think like 38 minutes of tapped out, money can pay for a remake of anything.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. And we're in that era now. They remade that SpongeBob game. They remade Spyro's. We're well into the era of remaking, PS2, GameCube, Xbox games. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, which certainly makes me feel old seeing the nostalgia for the Battle of Bikini Bottom. I'm like, no, you're supposed to be children still. If you have nostalgia for that, I'm not old.
Well, I believe Hit and Run is now 18 years old. So
yeah. Oh,
look out.
Good Lord, man. But yeah, this this episode was it was a really good Treehouse. I think I might have liked the previous years more, but the combo of the three is really great, and the animation again just like fantastic the whole time.
Yeah, I think season 12 is getting off to a great start. There's a few rough episodes, but I feel like it's much better than 11 on the whole, and not just because it doesn't have the Maud Flanders episode. I think it is an improvement for sure.
Or the Spring Break episode
that too.
Yeah, even
was that the one with Kid Rock?
Oh, yep. Yeah, it's in the late Josie. We had a lot of fun talking about that one. But Merritt, any final thoughts yourself?
Yeah, no, this was a fun one. Definitely one of the Treehouse episodes that I saw when it aired. The Treehouse episodes always used to really scare me as a kid. I was like a very anxious child, so like a lot of television would just freak me out. I couldn't separate, fantasy from reality. The Treehouse episodes, like King Kodos, the episode with the haunted house that has portals into like a hell dimension, all that stuff used to scare the hell out of me. So it was cool to go back now that I am, and not that any of them are particularly scary, but I'm really into horror now. So it's cool to go back and see some of the references. Yeah, it was a fun one. You got a Sheena Easton reference. You got Marge being mean. You got a lot of good screams.
And the first and only reference to glory holes on the entire series, I think. They never return to the glory hole.
Well, you can't. Yeah, they don't let you do that no more.
Are you looking forward to next year on Treehouse? They're going to be doing a Parasite parody. So
oh my god!
You know what? I just thought not to talk about glory holes forever on this podcast, but so I was just thinking, if you are a Disney Plus subscriber, you can pay to have to hear Homer Simpson say glory holes, and that is what America is all about.
It's the dirt after they cut Splash. God bless. That's the dirtiest thing on there. But Merritt, thank you so much for coming back. Where can folks find you and all your cool stuff?
Yeah, I work for a website called Fanbyte. We are a video games and culture site, and now that we've got all these new consoles coming out, they've got a new Nintendo, they've got a new Sega. Being told they've got a new 3DO, so that's very exciting. We've got all kinds of guides and features and fun stuff at fanbyte.com. We also do a lot of podcasts. We do shows about games, but we also do shows about movies. We do like sports stuff. We do all kinds of things.
Pro wrestling, I know. I'm a
pro wrestling. Yeah, we cover all kinds of stuff. We're not just a games website. So if you go to podcastnet.work, that'll take you to our podcast stuff, or just go to fanbyte.com/podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at fanbytemedia, and you can follow me on Twitter at Merritt K. And yeah, check out our stuff. I think you'll find something that you'll like.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming back. And we'll
always a pleasure. Yeah.
Next relationship centric episode, we'll be sure to have you back.
So thanks again to Merritt for being on the show. Please check out all of her stuff. And as for us, if you want to check out more of our stuff and get all these episodes 1 week ahead of time and ad-free, please go to patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons. Sign up there and you'll get just that, but also everything behind the $5 paywall. If you sign up for $5, and that includes everything we've made for the past 3.5 years, it'll be available to you instantly. That includes all of our limited miniseries. The most recent one was Talking Futurama Season 2 Part 2. That was 9 new episodes of Talking Futurama to close out the year. And we will have another new miniseries coming at you in the spring of 2021 and a second one to follow in the fall of 2021. So if you're on the Patreon, you got a lot of bonus episodes coming at you this year. And also, if you sign up for $10 a month at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons, you get all the $5 stuff naturally, but also access to one mega long podcast once a month just for patrons of that level or higher. And what is that, Henry?
Bob, you're talking about the What a Cartoon Movie podcast for all the folks who want to hear extra stuff from us each month. At the What a Cartoon Movie podcast level, you get to hear us discuss a different animated feature film each month. Our recent ones have included films as diverse as The End of Evangelion, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, and Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit, with another great one coming this month in January. Over 120 hours of extra podcasts in addition to all the $5 stuff will be yours if you are a $10 and up subscriber at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons.
So as for me, I've been one of your hosts, Bob Mackey. You can find me on Twitter as Bob Servo. And I have another podcast, by the way, and that is Retronauts. It's a classic gaming podcast about old video games. Find it wherever you find podcasts or go to patreon.com/Retronauts. Sign up there for 2 bonus episodes every month. Henry, what about you?
I'm Henry Gilbert. Follow me on Twitter at HENEREYG. And also, if you're following people on Twitter, follow the official account of the Talking Simpsons podcast at Talk Simpsons Pod. At Talk Simpsons Pod on Twitter is how you will know when new podcasts go up for both Talking Simpsons and our sister podcast, What a Cartoon, as well as all of our exclusives that are on the Patreon when we do new interviews or have a poll for another thing we're going to be doing. You will stay up to date if you follow the official at Talk Simpsons Pod account on Twitter.
Thank you so much for joining us, folks. We'll see you next time for Season 2's Simpson and Delilah, and we will see you then.
Boy, dumping your kids in the forest sure gets your hands dusty.
What? You threw our precious babies into the woods? We could have sold them. Go back and get them.
Here's a better idea. I know how we can replace those children. Bro. Son! Daughter! I'm ever so sorry!
Brave Sir Knight, I pray you, climb up and rescue me. Ow! No! Wait! No!
Ever tried reading while jogging, cooking, or even juggling flaming torches? Yeah, it doesn't end well. But with audiobooks.com, you can conquer books without the circus act. Dive into over 450,000 titles, including more than 10,000 free ones. Get hooked on a bestseller, find your next obsession, or finally read that classic you've been avoiding since high school. And here's the inside scoop. Sign up today for a free 30-day trial and snag your first 3 audiobooks on the house. Sign up for your free trial at audiobooks.com/podcastfree today. That's audiobooks.com/podcastfree.